What's up, everybody? Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. Mike, you had a kind of a last-minute change as far as what we're going to cover tonight, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but both Russia and Ukraine are at war. Now, I'm aware you probably know that they're at war with each other, but they're also potentially at war with aliens.
I gotta say, Mike, you called it.
Yeah. I hate to say I told so, but I fucking a told so. The fucking aliens are attacking people, or people are being attacked and blamed on aliens. Like I fucking said.
So there's been a lot of stuff coming out of the unfortunate events going on in the Ukraine, and there's been some heavy filtering of news. I actually came across a news station that kind of shows their filtering process to kind of get rid of fake news and stuff like that. There's some things that have come out like I don't want to get into specifics. There's some things that have come out that have been proven to be false. There's some things that have that were said not to be true that have been proven true. So it's all over the place there. So where is this information coming from that there's UAPs, UFOs even being seen in the Ukraine? Because being somebody who keeps an eye out on that type of shit, that kind of started right away, and it's all over the place. There are apparently UAPs all over the place.
I'm not exactly sure the date where this attack happened, but in the months leading up to, well, I should say really over February and into March, there have been UFO sightings in both the Ukraine and in Russia. There was one site, there's video footage of all these sightings, by the way. I will put links in the show notes, but one sighting is just this greenish, like it's like a pale greenish blue orb that's just floating in the sky, just sitting there, completely stationary. And you know how when you're filming something, that typically especially if it's a light, the color of the light doesn't really come across correctly. So the witness described it as being a green glowing ball in the sky. But they're filming it and it doesn't move, and it's just this green ball that's floating. It's weird, but I recall hearing some of those sightings over bases guarding the nukes that we talked about a few episodes ago. But I recall hearing some of the people on base there would report seeing these green fireballs that would fly over the base. So I think that's kind of interesting. They're checking out the war. They're checking out our nukes. But there have been other sightings as well. There's a video of this weird cigar-shaped craft in the sky. And then there's one, I don't know if it's sunset or sunrise. It's hard to tell, but there's this triangle that's almost blending in with the rays of the sun, the dim orange rays of the sun. And it almost looks like when the sun's rays, like when it's sunset or sunrise, when the sun's rays hit like a small cloud, but it gives it kind of almost this glow. But it's this perfect triangle just floating there in the sky.
Whoa.
It's not moving. It's just sitting there in the sky.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll send you that one. Then there's other ones where it's just like a glowing light that shoots across the sky and then like moves backwards, and it's unidentified as any known military craft. Then there was another one where it looks like it's shooting over the city and then it just shoots straight up.
That one I saw.
Yeah, it goes from being horizontal to vertical, and it's weird, and the speed that it's done in, it could not be a manned craft. Like the amount of G-force that it would take to make that maneuver would tear someone apart.
Right. Now, after people shit their pants about SpaceX a few years back, did you kind of expect UAP reports to start to pop up during this conflict? I'm invasion.
After doing all that research on the UFOs during wartime, whenever there's conflicts and stuff, I always kind of look out for UFOs or UFO stories. I didn't think it would be this soon into the conflict, though,
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many stories of UFOs in Russia, and those are just the ones that we got. After the Soviet Union fell, a lot of government documents and files just got destroyed, just so that things wouldn't get out. Right. So it's very possible that they could have a whole bunch of shit being covered up. And I'm going to get to some wacky shit in a little bit that is covered up, and that might actually be the reason for this war to begin with.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, shit, yeah. But there's also been, I wouldn't say as deep of a history in Ukraine, at least, compared to Russia or the U.S., but there have been some weird things that have gone on there just over the past few years. In October of 2017, there were these unknown shining objects in Odessa. And it was described as just being these unexplainable glimmers of light in the nighttime sky. And these glimmers of light would just appear out of nowhere, and they would shine and twinkle for like 15 minutes and then disappear. And then a few days later, they appeared again. And the second time they appeared, a lot more witnesses saw it, and it got more attention. But it was described as looking like if you were watching rockets being fired from the ground, like just the way that looks when that big the big burst when it first launches. They said it looked like that if you were looking at it from a great distance, but instead of being on the ground, it just appeared in the sky and would continue on.
Whoa. So just like a almost contained explosion in the sky, like repeating explosion?
Yeah.
That sounds like some Old Testament angel stuff almost.
Yeah, and hasn't been any satisfactory explanation. But later in 2017, there was another weird thing that happened. This was and forgive me, any of our Ukrainian listeners, I mean, if you're even listening to this at this point in time, but forgive me for my pronunciations, because I'm no doubt going to be butchering these names. But in Luhansk, I'm gonna say
that was actually perfect. I'm just kidding.
Yes.
I don't know.
Anyway, at the end of 2017 in Luhansk, there was this weird colored glowing cloud formation that just appeared in the sky. And some witnesses that saw this cloud claimed that they saw these spinning objects inside the glowing cloud. There is a picture of it, and it's kind of weird, man. Like the picture shows this glowing cloud with like white light, but also blue and red lights in it. It's very weird.
Huh.
But nothing of these spinning objects inside of it. But there's a few theories on what it could be. One of the most I guess, accepted theory was that it was a result of an intercontinental missile launched from Russia. However, it's never been claimed by Russia. Then there's others that say that this cloud formation was caused by UFOs, and that's a result of the spinning objects inside of the cloud, and they created this cloud for reasons unknown. And then there's others that combine the two and say there was a missile launch that attracted the UFOs, and then the UFOs came and created this cloud, maybe as a warning. And then there was actually one in April of 2020 where there were several witnesses that saw 17 fast-moving, shiny objects in the sky. And 15 of them were moving horizontally across the sky. The other 2 were moving vertically.
I've seen that formation before, with even with a large number of UFOs. That's strange.
Yeah. And at first, this was attributed to the Starlink satellite launch, which I know there were a lot of UFO sightings at the time that this launch happened, and they were just these satellites being launched.
Which is to be expected, right?
Yeah. I mean, we had there's a lot of weird things that can happen in the sky that look look at a rocket launch, for instance. Like those look really weird. But it was never confirmed by Elon Musk that this was part. And you'd think that if it was one of his, he'd be like, yeah, that was mine. But he never did.
Do you think that's why it's taken him so long to get those Teslas to be full auto? It's because he had to learn some alien language to get clearance to do that?
Maybe. He's still learning. That's what it is.
When they finally release everything, he's going to be like, yeah, I have a contract with him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, governments, I beat you to it, bud. I've been working with them for fucking years now. You missed the boat, buddy. But there's, so with all this history and with the conflict, and we know aliens like to get involved with, maybe to say that aliens like to get involved is not the right way to put it. Let's say that they like to watch, like maybe we're a spectator sport or some shitty TV show. Like, oh, what are we going to fuck up this week? But as I've talked about in the past, there are reports during the war where UFOs seem to take a side, or maybe not take a side, but work for the benefit of a group of soldiers, or maybe it's coincidence and they just witness it. Like I remember one from Vietnam where there was a group of soldiers that were behind enemy lines and they were trying to figure out a way to get out, and they knew the only way out was through this camp. It was an enemy encampment, and while they're in the woods, they start hearing this gunfire, and they at first obviously think that they've been their spot's been blown and they've been found, so they duck down. But then they realize that the gunfire's not coming any closer, and it's from a distance, and they hear yelling and gunfire. So, maybe they're in a gunfight with another group of U.S. soldiers, and they can, join up with them. So they make their way over to where this gunfight is, and they see this craft in the air that the Vietnamese are shooting at, and it blasted them all and reduced them to ashes and melted their guns.
Holy shit.
And then flew off, and then the soldiers came out and they were able to safely get back because this thing vaporized the camp.
Damn.
So it's something that happens, and like I said, maybe it's just coincidence, maybe they're taking sides, I don't know. But there's a story that came out of Ukraine, and this is what kind of started me wanting to talk about what's going on, because you guys know typically we stay away from politics and things like that. This news about this war has kind of been unavoidable. Like if you're on social media or watching TV or existing, it's hard to avoid hearing about this at this point. But I'm not here to politicize. I'm here to talk about fucking aliens. So don't sweat it. I'm not gonna get into the only aspect of this conflict I'm getting into is as it relates to fucking aliens. So, if you don't want to hear any more about this shit, just pretend I'm talking about bumfuck and Turkmenistan, and rather than Ukraine and Russia. Just make up fictional countries. Maybe it's fucking, I don't know, maybe it's somewhere in Middle Earth. Make up your own adventure, but this is about fucking aliens. And it's topical, I guess, so, well, there's that. But anyway, so the story that comes out that really got my attention, it was reported directly to the Ukrainian director of CBN News. It was the father of a Ukrainian soldier called the director to relate this story that his son told him about. So what happened is, the way his son described it, he said there was some miracle that happened, and it looked like an attack on the Russians from a spaceship, and there was some kind of lightning that shot down from the sky, and sparks spread everywhere.
Lightning?
Yeah. Lightning came down from what looked like a craft. Now, this was during a battle. The soldier was able to call home and say that his group of troops were losing this battle, and they were in the midst of losing when all of a sudden this ship showed up and blasted the Russians. And it looked like a cloud, but also a spaceship is how it was described. And it was able to fire lightning.
That's insane that's even a story. That's something that I've noticed with the accounts that you were talking about earlier, with the videos that are coming out from the Ukraine of these weird things in the sky. It shot lightning. That's 100% not normal. The stuff in these videos aren't flares. They're not doing things that are normal. They're doing the normal UAP stuff. So there's something definitely going on there. But as far as a UFO attacking troops, do you buy this?
So here's the thing. Why would an extraterrestrial race, if that is in fact what it is, take sides?
I think it's how can I say this without being too political? I think it's worrisome about the side that has threatened nuclear abilities.
All right, so how, without to save you from getting too political, how about we do it like this? Why now? Why not? I mean, there've been plenty of other atrocities happening across the world. Why this one choose to get involved in? Why is this the one?
Because it has the potential to go nuclear.
But we already went nuclear, and they didn't stop us.
That was the first time humans had done something like that on the Earth. Maybe that was...
But then we did it again.
And
we were testing the bombs before that. Like, at any point in time, they could have stopped it. Any point in time, if that's the case. If they're here. And what is... If you are a race of beings that has technology enough to rain down hell on a battalion of Russian tanks, why stop at Russian tanks? Why not go to where the seat of military power is and destroy that? Why, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't show an invested interest on either side.
Yeah, it's just like, let me just pick off these people real quick. Like a kid with a magnifying glass just randomly burning ants that are at war.
Yeah, like some psychopath highwayman from the 70s on coke.
Yeah.
Just shoot him, bro.
Yeah, just shoot them and they'll figure it out later. to me, what's much more plausible is that it's top secret aircraft that is not being disclosed and being used to carry out these secret attacks, and without having proof that these things exist, and the fact that our Air Force is acknowledging that UAPs exist, it opens the door for plausible deniability whenever there's some sort of weird craft that comes and attacks. I don't know. I guess they're getting fucking hostile now. I know I've said it in the past, but I really think that this UAP thing is going to be applied for military use. Like we're going to start seeing more aggressive actions from extraterrestrials. And maybe it could be a whole different thing where the U.S. uses these top secret craft to bring down Russia, and then we're like, oh, the aliens are our friends, and then, you know, we unleash all this new really cool technology and stuff, and then when it suits the purposes of the powers that be, the aliens suddenly turn on us, and they are not our friends anymore, and now we have to fucking kill the aliens because they're the Taliban and they're the witches and communists. You know, that's just the way she goes. You need a scapegoat. You always need a scapegoat for your own atrocities. You sons of bitches. You Illuminati bastards.
Later, because do you want me to get to that point? Do you want to get to that stuff later?
No, we might as well do it now, because that's the next stop on this batshit journey.
Well, I got a question for you, Mike. Studying history, war history, Greek, Roman, military history stuff, World War II, normally when somebody invades another country, there's usually something to gain from that, monetarily or resources, or, you know, the past has shown like slave labor. It doesn't seem like that's what's going on here. It doesn't seem like it seems like the invaders are doing a lot of bad stuff, and a lot of stuff that even let's say they achieve their goals, like they still have the whole world pissed off at them. Sanctions aren't going to be lifted, so it's not like the invaders are going to be sitting pretty if they do succeed. It seems like there's something in the Ukraine that they really, really, really want. Have you thought about that at all?
Well, not only have I thought about it, but this is the crazy turn that my research has taken.
Nice.
So, how about a fucking ancient space ark? How about that?
What?
And by, like, Noah's Ark type ark.
Whoa, I thought you meant like a walk, something you walk under.
Nope. An ancient space ark.
Whoa.
What the fuck? Did you hear that?
I did. It sounded like my door.
I'm trying to talk about aliens in Russia or Ukraine or...
Whoa, get down! Holy shit, it's ads!
That'll teach you, you informative son of a bitch. Anyway, there is... All right. So this one is all over the place. It's crazy as shit. We'll start with Ukraine, and then we'll work our way from there, I suppose. But before I get to that, I got to explain where this comes from. There's this guy, his name is Dr. Michael Salla, and he's the founder of the Exopolitics Institute. You can go to his website, exopolitics.org. He does a lot of stuff about extraterrestrials and like contactees and the channeling stuff. He's one of the people that kind of do the crossover of UFO and New Age stuff. You know, the ones that we jokingly talk about with the crystal butt plugs that that sort of thing. But he does a lot of or he releases a lot of information from this military source that he refers to as JP. And before I even get into this, I want to say that generally speaking, these sorts of people tend to be full of shit most of the time. Usually when they start getting all the peace, love, and hump your crystal thing going, I don't believe it. I know Dr. Greer gets into that stuff. David Wilcott gets into that stuff. And it almost seems like in a lot of cases, especially when you get groups of these people together, it almost seems like it's like a group of adults playing make-believe in this fantasy world that they kind of start to believe is real. But I want to bring this up because it's in a world where we've got real tragedies and real wars and people dying and it's I guess a fun distraction to have, or maybe I shouldn't say distraction. It's just something. If this story is true, it provides some sort of reason behind what's going on, and it's almost scarier if this is true. But again, this has to, it ties in with the Illuminati and the deep state and the loving extraterrestrials and there's channeling involved and hidden caches of technology and information that about ancient human civilizations that we don't know about. But there's also some prophecy involved as well for what's to come this year, which actually ends with a positive note. So, there's that. At the very least, it's entertaining. And next year, if none of this comes true, we can say, wasn't that funny that those people are fucking idiots? But if it does come true, we could be like, oh, wow. Isn't that awesome that those people aren't fucking idiots?
You heard it here first, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, this space ark, this information was given to Dr. Sala by JP, and he started out by saying that this entire thing is an attempt for Putin to get his hands on a Ukrainian space ark. So he says, don't be surprised if it starts activation. Oleshki Desert National Park is where this thing is. And he claims it's going to be one of the first ships that are going to go up in the air. And everybody's going to see it, and all eyes are going to be on the Ukraine because that's where it's coming from. And he claims, it's not hard to claim this, but he's claiming that the intention is to shock everybody that sees it. And Dr. Sala was first told about the Ukrainian space ark by this JP character who... his background is that he serves in the U.S. Army and works as like a space ranger escort for scientists, I guess. like he's part of this team of guys that goes with these scientists on these trips to other space arks. He claims that he went on a mission to the moon, and he has been to 2 other space arks that are located in the Bermuda Triangle area of the Atlantic Ocean, because of course, why not?
2 of them in the same area though, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And according to JP, all 3 of those missions, the 2 missions to the Bermuda Triangle and the 1 mission to the moon, was jointly conducted by the United States and China, and the second mission in the Atlantic included Russia. And when Russia joined with the second mission, it was found out, I guess Russia admitted that they had found an ark of their own, and they would not be providing access to it, but because they're aware of this one in the Atlantic and the U.S. is aware of that, they will work together on this one, but they're not going to share information about the other one that they have.
Russia said this?
Correct.
Okay.
So once they discover these space arks get activated and they're able to fly. And they were able to activate one, and they flew to the moon. Now, Dr. Sala has this contact, JP, in the Army, but he also has contact with this alien that gets channeled through this French archaeologist named Elena Danon. And she's able to channel this alien, which is named Thor-Han Erdian, or Eradian. We'll just call him Thor-Han. But he actually, in January, relayed the message that huge space arks were discovered on the moon and on Mars, as well as in Antarctica. And then he provided the coordinates for the one found in Ukraine. And I will give those coordinates for anybody who's interested, but it's 46 degrees, 35 minutes, 19 seconds north, 33 degrees, 3 minutes, 1 second east. So if you want to look that up, feel free. But according to Thor-Han, as he told Sala through Elena Danon, so, how many degrees of separation, he says that this is not a story, or this is not an invasion of Ukraine, but it's part of cleansing operations. And the deep state was attempting to activate the ark, which they found many years ago buried underneath the sand in the lower southern part of Ukraine. The ark is now activated, so it's time Putin got his hands on it. And because there's a second ark in the north of Russia, and Putin already controls that, he wants to get control of this one as well.
Huh. So, okay, just for recapping and for my dumb brain, America has one? Or did they share that one with China, or what's up with that one?
The U.S. has we have access with China to the Bermuda Triangle, the ones in the Bermuda Triangle, and the one on the moon.
Okay. And then, so Russia has one in the north, and then Ukraine has one in the desert. If this is true, I always wondered what franchise would take the shape of real life, and I didn't think it would be Stargate. That's some scary shit. One being on the moon already? I mean, that's like a teleportation system.
Yeah, and the one in Antarctica, this one was actually first brought up by Linda Moulton Howe, and she released testimonies in January of 2019. But according to her contact, in 2003, a U.S. Navy SEAL operation traveled to Antarctica to investigate the discovery of a perfectly geometric 8-sided octagon structure that was discovered by ground-penetrating radar near Beardmore Glacier, which is 93 miles from the McMurdo station. Previous to the SEALs arriving, another team of engineers had started to dig out the top layer, and they found that it was made of, the octagon itself was made of this pure black, it looked like obsidian, like black glass or black crystal. And what they uncovered was built on top of two more black octagon structures that went down deep into the ice. And by the time the SEALs arrived, only part of the octagon shape had been uncovered, and the rest was still buried. But they determined that the entire shape of this structure, whatever it was, would cover the area of 62 acres, which is half a kilometer or thereabout. I don't know what that would be in miles, but it's 62 acres. So, I mean, just imagine how big that is.
Call me crazy, but maybe I'm confusing this with something else. I could swear that I heard about this, the one in Antarctica. I think I read a report that one of the soldiers died by falling while they were digging around there.
I didn't come across any soldiers dying around there, so I cannot confirm or deny if this is the same instance.
Okay.
But the Navy SEAL that reported this to Linda Moulton Howe said that when they arrived to see this partially unearthed structure, it was covered in hieroglyphs, and he said they weren't Egyptian hieroglyphs and they weren't Mayan hieroglyphs, but they kind of looked similar to both, in that they had like animals and symbols and were arranged in a way that looked like a script of some sort. But he could not say what civilization created it. But interestingly, this JP character, when he described the craft that he visited on the moon, he said that it was also covered with weird hieroglyphs, and that the craft itself was crystalline in nature.
Whoa. Linda Moulton Howe is no spring chicken either.
Yeah, I mean, she's the reason that the cattle mutilation stuff got so popular.
Right.
Or I shouldn't say popular, but so well known.
Everybody's doing it.
Yeah. But she gets a little out there in the weeds nowadays, though. But it's hard to say. Oh.
I mean, you got to expect people in that field to be getting a little excited with all the shit that's going on. Like if I was Linda Moulton Howe, I'd be rambling at the mouth. I got this story, and then this happened too, and then there's this case. I'd be trying to get everything I could out as fast as I could.
Yeah. A lot of the information about this stuff came out, about the space arks anyway, first came out in January. January 4th was the date that Dr. Sala got the information of this year. So he ended up publishing a lot of this information on January 8th. So we'll see how this plays out. But I mentioned a few times that it was mentioned that the space ark that's in Ukraine has been activated. Now, according to Thorhan, these crafts get activated when the Galactic Federation fleet approaches the Earth. And apparently a large fleet of craft belonging to the Intergalactic Confederation are currently, quote-unquote, parked around the moon Ganymede, which is a moon that goes around Jupiter. They're just kind of chilling there, hanging out around Jupiter. But he being Thorhan, has been sending messages to this Elena Dannon woman who was implanted with some sort of alien technology that allows her to communicate back and forth telepathically with Thorhan. So I've got a bunch of clips here from the telepathic communications session from Thorhan. So I'm going to read a few of these so you know what the fuck is going on. But like I said, this shit sounds so fucking hokey. Like reading through it, like just it sounds like a goddamn video game or Star Trek or some shit. Like it just sounds so silly. And the fact that there's adults that are if they're pretending, it seems so silly that these people are adults and they're playing this game. But if it's real, then holy fucking shit, hold on to your booty. So the first part, she was contacted on January 4th at 1 a.m. in the morning. And she gets this message that comes in from Thorhan that says, I have clearance to answer your question about the ancient vessels that activated, those studied by the Terran scientists. It is exciting to watch them and to guide them as they uncover a past that was hidden for long millenniums. Terran culture has been ready for a long time, but now that threatening shadows are leaving your world, truth can be unveiled in the open. Finally, the Earth Alliance unfolds the plan elaborated together with the Intergalactic Confederation and the Galactic Federation of Worlds of Nataru, which is the Milky Way galaxy, exposing what was hidden until this day. A long time ago, the Intergalactic Confederation had several colonies in the star system, one on Nara, which is Venus, Terra, which is Earth, its moon, Tyr, which is Mars, and the fifth planet. Great wars occurred with the Anunnaki and the colonies left. But before leaving, they gathered the essential of their knowledge in arks that they buried deep on the planets I mentioned. These arks preserve the essential information necessary to rebuild the glory of these colonies, if one day this was to happen. So basically these things have all of the lost knowledge of the ancients, like the fabled cache of information underneath the Great Sphinx. Now, this message apparently corroborates an earlier message that this JP character told Dr. Sala back in December. And JP at this point was in a classified briefing before he went to that moon mission, which occurred on December 23rd, 2001. And he was basically told the same thing about these arks when they discovered the one on the moon, that this was holding the information of the ancients. And when he went into when he went on it, like I said, he's part of this group that's like bodyguard for space scientists or something. But he was one of the military escorts that was with the scientists from the U.S. and the China when they were checking out this ark on the moon. And he said one of the scientists that was there was an archaeologist who specialized in ancient writing, specifically hieroglyphs. So that ties back to the hieroglyph found the hieroglyphs found on the Antarctica one. But in the briefing, he was told what these things are, and he gave that information to Dr. Sala back in December, and then this information came through in early January. But he said another thing that this JP character had told him was that early on in his career, he had been taken by these extraterrestrials that looked human, but he would be taken into these big hemisphere structures that were like smaller arcs. And there he was able to see ancient plants and animals and even technology that was being preserved for some time in the future. And he met other people who were all like him that were taken to these arks by these aliens. And one of the people he met was a Chinese woman. So it seems like the Chinese have their own version of this JP guy that are working, with the aliens and the government and the military, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
But he was told when he was there that these arks are for a time that would become important for humans, when we'd be dealing with all sorts of things going on in the world, and that the things contained in these arks would be used to basically save humanity and guide us into a better age, I guess.
Well, that's kind of scary if with all the shit that's going on and now they're activating. It seems like we're going to need that.
Right. Yeah. And apparently, according to Thorhan, the ancient Atlantean civilization was an offshoot from one of the original 24 extraterrestrial civilizations that make up the Intergalactic Confederation. So one of them came down and created Atlantis, apparently.
Which, as crazy as that sounds, I mean, Atlantis was supposed to be a crazy enough place that might actually be an explanation.
So another bit from Thorhan, and in relation to the activation of the arks. Thorhan states, when the fleet from the Intergalactic Confederation approached the star system, the arks activated. It was time. The return of the Seeders marks... That's Seeders, like seed-ers, like SEEDERS, not like trees, because who gives a fuck about that? You know, that's whatever. The return of the Seeders marks the beginning of a new era, when Terrans are ready to receive the long-time hidden knowledge. No rules are broken when the Terrans make their own research and discover the keys themselves. You understand this knowledge, and technology couldn't fall in the wrong hands. The arrival of the Seeders occurs when the enemy has lost all power and possessions in this star system. The time is right now. Also, I was authorized to tell you that 2 great archaeological discoveries are imminent on Earth this year. It will change the way Terrans look at the chronology of their history. What they believed was truth carved in stone will flow like water. So, basically what he's describing here are the Seeders being the people or the beings that, I guess, created the life on Earth. And the enemy that they're referring to are evil extraterrestrials like the reptilians, that had control of Earth that are now losing their power and retreating. And these archaeological discoveries are going to show us unknown parts of our history that are going to change the way that we view history, and will also apparently change the way that we act in the future. So I don't know. I mean, it says it's going to happen this year, so I guess keep a lookout for archaeological discoveries. Maybe keep an eye on the Eye of the Sahara, see what comes up there. Maybe keep an eye on Antarctica, see what happens there. And I guess keep an eye on this whole Russia-Ukraine situation and see if we get any spaceships activating and launching off the ground that are half a kilometer wide.
Jeez.
Scary times, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.